Hey everybody, it's Glenda, your integrative nurse coach, and welcome to my channel. Here we'll discuss strategies to support healthy minds, mindful living, and also provide accountability for each other as we navigate this journey of maintaining health and wellness. Hey everybody, it's Glenda, your integrative nurse coach, stopping in to say hello. I just actually it was brought to my attention that October is National Bullying Prevention and Awareness Month. I did not know that because I have a story to tell. I experienced bullying, a horrible experience, not in middle school, not in elementary or high school, not even during my college years going into nursing school. This was actually on my first job working at a nurse in the as a nurse in the hospital. I was a new grad, had passed my boards. I was excited, ready to be a nurse. This was my goal. I had worked very hard, had done well in nursing school. So, like most nurses at that time, it was it was kind of a prestigious kind of thing to get a job in the hospital. And so, let me back up by saying that we're talking about 30 years ago. So that's where all the nurses wanted to be. I got a job in the hospital, and it almost felt like as soon as I put my foot on the floor, it started. So I had a nurse, my mentor, or the person who was orienting me, I would say. She wasn't a mentor, she was a bully. Her name was Brenda, and Brenda went out of her way to humiliate me, and she loved to do it in front of people, in front of a group of people. So it was bad enough that she was derogatory and dismissive with her statements when it was one-on-one, but there were situations where she intentionally made sure that if there was anything that I did wrong, that everybody knew about it. And at that time, I really didn't feel like I could go to anybody because the charge nurse was her friend. So they were, good buddies. And my understanding with, especially nurse bullying, it's been around for a long time. It's that old, nurses eat their young. And I think it's terrible that phenomena still exists in 2020. But she devoured me. She didn't eat me. She devoured me. So with Brenda, it was hard for me because I felt so alone and I felt isolated. My understanding of the nurse bullies is that they pick their targets, and I'm sure that she chose me, A, because I was a new grad, and B, because I was a black woman. And I'm going to throw that in there because at the time, I didn't address it because I was afraid of, when people say, oh, they're going to play the race card. And, I didn't want to have that to be a part of what was happening with Brenda. Although it was true at the time, but it was kind of like unspoken, you don't bring that into the fold of discussions or problems when you're having them at work. But so those were the two reasons I think that she chose. Those are the two reasons I know she chose me. I'm not going to say think. And, there were situations where the patients would say, well, I don't want a black nurse taking care of me. She would come out to the nurse's station and just laugh. And it's like, oh, that's so funny. Mr. Jones said he doesn't want a black nurse. Keeping in mind, I'm the only black nurse on the unit. Everybody else laughed. I don't know why that was funny because I went through the same rigid curriculum as any other nurse. I took the same state boards as any other nurse. So I'm not sure why, they felt that I was not really qualified to do the nurse's job. At that point, I was new to this setting, to this hospital. I needed some help. I mean, I couldn't hit the floor running. And that's just, it's one of those things that they don't forewarn you about in nursing school. So, besides that, humiliating me in front of everybody, throwing me under the bus when doctors asked questions that she knew that I didn't know. She would say, oh, well, Glenda was supposed to do that and she didn't take care of it. And it was so frustrating. And I guess my advice to young nurses who may be experiencing this as I look back on it, is, you know, a it's not your fault that you are working with and you're dealing with a bully. This is someone who is insecure, who has their own problems. I understand that she was having marital issues, which I really didn't care because I didn't deserve to be treated that way. So it's not your fault. Don't feel defeated. I felt so defeated, and I kept questioning if I was in the right place. Should I really be in this role of trying to be a nurse? And I worked so hard at it. It was such a it was it was it was kind of like that goal, that ultimate goal for me. And I wanted to just get out there and show people that my heart was in the right place and that I was a nurturer and I was able to take care of patients and advocate for them. So I would say that you need to be assertive with that person. Assertive meaning that just address it early on. Don't allow them to bully you and say demeaning and derogatory things, and you just kind of let it go, and then you try to address it. Address that early on. Secondly, tell somebody. And once you tell someone, make them accountable for following up with you and giving you some feedback on what they're doing about it. Now, I did tell the nurse manager of the unit, after a while, because, when you're in orientation, it's like, oh, how's everything going? Are you settling in? And I said, yeah, I mean, and early on, I lied. And then eventually, I said, I think I'm kind of struggling with Brenda's style of nursing, and she seems to be. So I made up this lie. Basically, I'm trying to tell her, read between the lines. I'm having issues with this woman. And she was just like, oh, well, that's just how she is. That's how she is. And my understanding is that's what everybody said about her. Oh, that's just how she is. And I said, okay, that's fine. Eventually, this environment became so toxic for me because the charge nurse, Brenda, the other little nurses on the floor, some of them were just as new as I was, but they were not treated the way that I was. And I know this because, we'd be in the break room and they say things like, oh, it's okay, maybe she's having a bad day. And it's just like, really? And I look back on it now and I don't know why. I was going to say, I don't know why I didn't address it early on. And I do know why. It's because I was determined to succeed. I wanted to be that strong woman. And then, of course, everybody thinks that, it's that strong black woman complex. And that we don't feel anything, that we don't experience in anything. And that's another video within itself. But that's who I wanted to be. Because that's that was part of this. It's almost like this criteria for us that we can overcome and do anything without being unscathed. I was depressed. There were mornings I would cry before I went in, and I go in and my eyes are all red and I'm trying to clean it up, my nose running, because I was just so, I guess, like I said, I was just so defeated. And finally, what I did and what I would recommend to new nurses is when that environment becomes so toxic and nobody else is doing anything about it, leave. And that's what I did. But I did stay. I went through my orientation, which was about 4, maybe I think close to 5 months of hell. Because the goal that got me through every day is when I get off orientation, I won't have to deal with her anymore. And so once I got off orientation, I stayed around a little longer because I wanted the experience. But I think that because of what everyone had observed happening to me earlier, I didn't have the respect that I deserved. I probably didn't appear and carry myself as confident as I could have, as I should have. And it was just not a good place for me. It really wasn't. And that was a horrible first job experience. But you know what? Knock on wood, I left. And I have been blessed with, really good jobs after that. And it's not really the job itself, it is the culture of the organization. And that culture of that organization did not look out for me or protect me or to do anything to change what I was experiencing in that environment. Because if I go to the nurse manager, and at that time it's like, should I go to HR? I was just so afraid of if I made too many waves. If I had to do it all over again, the outcome would be entirely different. But hindsight is 2020. But I wanted to just take a moment to just share that, as an adult and feeling bullied, it is similar to what a child experiences. And to you nurses out there, hang in there if you like. I would say, kind of weigh your options, but nothing is worth your mental health. No job is worth your pride and your dignity. And when it's time to go, it's just time to go. It's time to go. So anyway, maybe I'll share another story because there are a lot of things that happened in that whole little 5 month span. But thanks everybody for coming. Have a great day. Please feel free to subscribe to my channel and certainly like this video. Leave the comments, especially if you've had a personal experience of bullying in the workplace. You don't have to necessarily be a nurse, because I know that people experience it in other, corporate environments and things like that. Just kind of leave a comment on how you handled things. Like I said, if I had a do-over, I definitely would have handled it differently. And I'm just, glad that I was able to transition through that and be the wonderful nurse that I am today. Yes, I am giving myself a pat on the back. Thanks, guys. Take care.